Early release of superannuation benefits is one area that the regulator has been focusing on in recent times, especially in the self-managed superannuation space. I have in the studio with me today Anne-Marie Esler from Centric Wealth Advisors to talk us through an area which is commonly referred to as preservation. Welcome, Anne-Marie.
Thank you, Darren.
So what are the preservation rules?
The preservation rules are there so that people don't access their superannuation until retirement. So when superannuation was introduced and the rules around superannuation as they have evolved over the number of years, the government was granting us as individuals and people that contribute to superannuation concessions on our taxation of superannuation. And one of the conditions of receiving that taxation concessions is that the money is preserved until we retire. So essentially, superannuation is there for the long term, and it's to be accumulated over our working life. Tax concessions are granted, and the money is preserved until we meet a certain condition of release.
And do different rules apply for different benefits?
There are different benefits that have accumulated over time which have what we call different preservation statuses. So most of our money and all of the money since 1st of July 1999, including contributions and earnings, are fully preserved. But you may find that some people have money that's what we call restricted preserved or unrestricted non-preserved. And those different types of monies mean that you can access the money a little bit earlier than you might say with preserved monies.
So what are some of the general conditions of release that apply?
Most people hopefully are going to wait until they retire to access their superannuation benefit because the other conditions of release aren't very nice ones to think about. So the main ones in terms of the condition of release are retiring over age 55, which we call preservation age. Different conditions over age 60. If you leave your employer, for example, and so change jobs over age 60, you can access your benefit, and then attaining age 65. So I guess they're the three main age-based and retirement-based conditions of release that most people would be accessing their superannuation under. But of course there's a whole range of other ones as well.
And are there any conditions of release that allow members to access their benefits a little bit earlier?
There are a few conditions of release that allow you to access your benefits earlier. For example, financial hardship. So if you, for example, are suffering financial hardship, so you've been on unemployment benefits for a certain amount of time and you're unable to meet your general living expenses, then you're able to access money earlier than you would normally be able to. But there's a lot of restrictions placed on that and certain conditions, obviously, that you need to meet.
Also, are there rules that dictate how members can cash in their superannuation benefits?
Yes, some of the conditions of release allow you to take the superannuation money as a lump sum without restrictions, but others, for example, require that you start a income stream. So the new transition to retirement condition of release, which you're able to access over the age of 55 or preservation age, requires that you only take an income stream and that you don't withdraw any more than 10% of the account balance every year as an income stream. So there's some conditions of release that allow you full access to your money and as a lump sum, but others that require you to take an income stream.
So what are some of the penalties that might apply if you do access your super a little bit too early?
The penalties are really applied to the superannuation trustee because it's their responsibility to ensure that the money is preserved until you do genuinely meet a condition of release. So if you are a trustee of a self-managed superannuation fund and you are accessing your money illegally, early for example, then there are very severe penalties. For example, your fund could be made non-compliant, which means it will be taxed at 46.5%. So that's one of the penalties. So that's if you're a self-managed super fund trustee. Obviously, if you have your money in a public offer or a corporate fund or a retail fund, then it's the trustee of that fund that is then responsible for whether or not you've accessed that money early, and so the penalties will apply to them.
Thanks again for your time today, Anne-Marie.
No problem at all. Thanks, Darren.